Hey, my lovelies, it's me, author Alexandrian Fonte, coming to you with a new review. So, I thought I'd wear my little ball beanie hat. Since I'm not in New York, I can't actually wear um, beanies here because it's not cold. It's actually pretty warm here. Um, I think it's like about 50 degrees outside right now. It's pretty late. It's like, well, not technically late, but it's like 6:53, almost 7 o'clock. But it's California, so of course you still got all the sun. And then I have like this really big window in this room. It's like a. It always reminds me of like one of those Disney princesses movies. I mean, windows, that you throw open and you're like, the hills are alive. Even though that's not, Disney technically, but like a jasmine balcony. I have like a little balcony out there, and then the French windows that open up like this, and it's really cute. I really like that. But it's an old house, so it's freaking freezing at night regardless. So I have to have like a little heater in this room, like one of those little space heaters. I think the last time I was like, oh my God, it's burning up in here. And I had to turn it off because I was on camera. But so it's two big windows. And so that it's an old house, so it's not insulated properly. So my freaking gas bill is like insane, like you would not believe, because all of the windows in this house are like really old, and the owner hasn't actually like insulated this place. So but my lease is up in August and I'm moving, so but I'm leaving in June, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, so how is everyone doing out there? I'm just at home chilling, as you can see from my looks. I didn't really want to comb my hair because I'm sort of just vegging. I have all of these books that I need to get out, so that's kind of what I was doing. I'm actually working on a king, a lost queen, Callan's Choice, which is part of my a light fairy tale series. So that's pretty much what I've been doing all day today. I'm trying to finish these 4 books before June. So, anyway, so we didn't have an author tonight either. We've got some promises. Basically, some of the Facebook posts have been getting questions. So hopefully, we'll get some new submissions for you guys. If Jen has downloaded a whole bunch of indie authors that we can still review while we're waiting for people who actually petition the channel. But remember, this is still an indie author review channel regardless. So whether they're part of our team, I should totally sit up. My mom is probably having a heart attack, me slouching like that. But anyway, and so even though we're reviewing indie authors regardless whether they're on our roster or not. So we will still be bringing you reviews of indie authors. Now, tonight's author, don't know her. She isn't part of our roster, but Jen, she's got some really good books going on here. Like, they're not part of our roster, and so what Jen will probably more than likely do is, after we do the reviews, she'll go and post the reviews to people's timelines, the authors. So that's probably what she'll do. But anyway, so tonight's author is, just one second, it is an interracial well, it's kind of hard to like classify this book. This book, so like, remember when we first started the channel and I told you that sometimes there are authors that we will not review. Like, we'll review them, but we won't give them a star review. The genres that we don't review are street lit, so anything like the hustle and flow type, um, Christian, anything that has suggestive or overly overt overtones of Christianity. And then non-fiction, so like self-help books, spiritualism, that kind of stuff we don't really review. I have shamanism in my family and like a bunch of other religions, but that's like a family thing. I wouldn't actually, push that on someone else. But anyway, so we don't read them. So when Jen downloaded this book, she didn't read it and she didn't realize that it had Christian overtones to it. But because of the fact that we didn't have another author tonight, I read it anyway, which normally I will not do. If the book has Christian overtones, I'm not reading it. It's just not my cuppa. I don't feel like, I don't know. It's just weird. I kind of feel like I don't want to be browbeaten in a book about religion. So you know, whether it's saving yourself, chastity, all that kind of stuff, that's your cuppa, but I don't think you should talk trash about other people because they choose not to. That's your cuppa, not theirs. So, anyway, but I read it anyway, and I didn't, the Christianity in the book, I overlooked it because it was just praying, like the character would say one or two things and be like, oh, what did you pray about that? That I didn't have an issue with because my nana does that all the time. My landlord, she's like an old little pastor lady. She'll come to my house. I think she already knows not to like browbeat me with that, but she'll come to my house to fix something or whatever, and then she'll say, "Oh, let me pray with you, girl." Now I respect people's religions. Especially older people. She's an African American little lady, and there is no way I would ever disrespect her, even if I don't care for what she's saying. The little lady in the back, she's Latina. Same thing. I would never disrespect them because my parents taught me better than that. But later on, I might be just like, oh Lord Jesus, here she comes again. I say that to myself, but I would never disrespect her in her face. That's just terrible. My mom would probably reach through like whatever realm of whatever and slap the crap out of me. So anyway, so the book it wasn't that bad. Okay, so now tonight's author is, I have other issues with this book that have nothing to do with religion. Okay, so tonight's book is called The Billionaire's True Love, and it's one, Cream and Chocolate, and it's by Viola Black, and it's a black woman, white male, interracial romance, and here is the cover. Okay, this is what the cover looks like. You guys see that? Okay, so now this book follows... there it is. I was like, what did I do with my... Okay, so now... this book follows Gavin. Okay, so darn it, just one second. I forget the main female character's name, Julia. Okay, so this book follows Gavin, Julia, and Leonard. His name is Leonard, right? Just one sec. I want to make sure the other guy's name is Leonard. Leon, I'm sorry. So yeah, so see, I was wrong. Okay, so this book follows Gavin, Julia, and Leon. So it takes place when they're teenagers and they're in high school. That's where it opens up. And so I'm sorry. I'll get his name right in a second. Leon, Gavin, and Julia are friends, and they all go to school together, and high school, obviously. And Gavin likes Julia, and both Julia and Gavin are African American, and then Leon is white. And so basically, they're in high school together, freshmen, and then Gavin realizes that he likes Julia, and so he tells her, and then he asks her out, and then they start dating. Well, Leon is Julia's best friend. Like it's one of those type of romances, the best friend, the unrequited love, and so he's pretty much pining for her all through high school. They have interactions. There are times when he wants to tell her that he loves her, and then her and this Gavin guy get even more serious. And then basically, right before they go off to college, he contemplates telling her that he's in love with her, but then he's like, well, she's with him, and now it's turned serious, and they'll probably get married after college, so there's no point in it. So he goes off to so they go to college, and Leon decides to go to college in Japan. I believe that's what it. Yeah, he went off to Japan, and so I believe he went to college in Japan, and so he wasn't with them, and so they base. No, no, no. Actually, that's not true. I'm sorry. So they all go to college together. That's what it is. They all go to college together, and then it's at the end of college. Yeah, it's at the end of college. He contemplates telling her that he loves her, but then he figures, oh well, they're so connected now, even more than they were in high school. It's kind of like a moot point, because even though she is with the Gavin guy, her and Leon have stayed friends, and they've been like, as my nana would say, thick as thieves. And yeah, she doesn't say thieves, she says thieves. And so basically, they've been thick as thieves through, like, their entire lives from freshman year on. And so she still hangs out with him. They still go to lunch together. They still have this all encompassing relationship, regardless of the fact that she's dating this Gavin guy. And so Gavin is like, he's kind of pissed off about it, because he's like, he continues to come around. He's always around her. And it's like, well, duh, he's her best friend. And even if he didn't love her, he would still have been her best friend. Anyway. And so basically, this is a short story. It is only about let's see. I think it's like 101 pages, or is that what it was? Um well, I'll tell you when I'm done. And so basically, he decides that he's going to do business, some sort of business in Japan. And so he contemplates telling her that he loves her, but then he decides against it, because he figures after college they're going to get married, all this kind of stuff. So he goes on and goes out about his business. Well, through this entire time, from freshman year all the way up to college, these two have been in a relationship, but they've been celibate in this relationship. They want to wait till marriage to actually have sex. And so basically, through all these years, they kiss, they do all that stuff, but they don't actually have sex with each other. And so finally, they're graduating from they graduate from high school. He gets an internship as a doctor, because Gavin is studying. He got a football scholarship, and so his degree was in medicine. So he finally gets his residency. She works for some corporation. I'm sorry, I don't remember which one it was. And so basically, they finally get to the point where they're going to have sex, because now he's proposed to her. And so they wind up having sex, and then they pretty much revert back to their lives or whatever, after this big huge, you know, milestone. And so so he does a charity football game, and he goes to do the charity football game. And then I'm going to actually tell all of this book, because it's a short book, and normally I don't do endings, but this ending pissed me off, so I'm just going to go with it. And so he winds up going to he does a charity football game, and he's playing in it, and then he dies. Yeah. He's on the field, he's running for the touchdown, and he just falls out dead. And so he dies. And so basically, once he dies, she finds out. They have his funeral, all this kind of stuff. She's distraught, blah 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 blah. And they she finds out that she's pregnant. And so basically she's like, what am I going to do with my life, this and this and this. And then, her parents are like, oh, we'll help you, blah 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 blah. And then it pans to the guy Leon, and then now Leon hears about his tragic death, and he's just like, oh, I'm so sorry. He sends her a card, but on the real him in Japan, he's like, oh my god, I've loved her for all this time. I'm really trying to keep my disdain out of this review, because the reviews are supposed to be about the book and the story itself, but I had so much disdain for this book. I'm sorry. And so he's like, he's thinking about her and he's wanting to, basically express his love and all this kind of stuff. And that's where I'm going to end. Okay. And so I feel like, one, the religious overtones of, constantly saying, oh, well, you need to pray about this, you need to pray about that. It's fine. But then you can't turn 5 books away and have a full on opened up sex scene where you were talking about the C word, all C words, all 3 of them. You can't do that. You can't have something supposed to be so pristine, but then they're not married, and then you go and you have this scene here where they actually have sex and they're not married. And then equally, you've built up this book with this character, Gavin, through all of this. So people are thinking this guy is the main character. And then you just kill him off in a football game, of all things. He had an enlarged heart and he didn't know it, but he got a football scholarship. That doesn't make sense. At some point, my son has an enlarged heart. At some point in his football career, he would have found out that he had an enlarged heart. My son has an enlarged heart. My ex-husband has an enlarged heart, which is where he got it from, because it's genetic. And when my son was 13 years old, that's how we found out, because he was a skateboarder. He was an avid skateboarder. He was trying to get signed by a skateboarding company. I mean, he did later years, but he learned how to control that. But the whole point is he would have known that he had an enlarged heart, because being athletic, he would have been short of breath. He would have the basic compressions in his chest alone, and how the doctors would have tested him was he would have to kneel, just do a whole bunch of kind of stuff. But if he was a actual sports player, he would have known he had an enlarged heart. Now I'm just saying this. I'm saying this from experience, because my son, my 23-year-old, has an enlarged heart, and we stay constantly like making sure that he is okay. But he was diagnosed when he was 13 because of the fact that he was an athlete. He was a serious, vicious skater. And so he started being short of breath. He started having like chest palpitations. And so I took him to the hospital or the doctor, and that's when he found out. But him getting into college on a football scholarship, no, with an enlarged heart, he would have known he had an enlarged heart. Anyway, so that to me was completely just weird. I didn't get that. And then to kill him off nearly at the end of the book, that made no sense either. I was like, what the hell? And so, and then the best friend, talking about his love for her after he died and how he could that was very douchey. Very douchey. And that basically makes him look like a douche character, because she's distraught of she's been with this guy since the 9th grade. And to mention, okay, so I just really had time with this book, guys. I don't like to talk trash about people's work, because I know this is their hard-earned, this is their blood, sweat, and tears. But I'll give an example. And I'm not trying to say I'm better than everyone as an author. But I'll give you an example of what I'm speaking about. In My Best Friend's Wife. I understand this genre. I understand the arc of her book. And it's totally acceptable. But there's a way that you have to do it to where your character doesn't come off looking like a douche. Like My Best Friend's Wife, Holby and Elijah are best friends. They're in Fallujah together because they're both Navy SEALs. And they're in Fallujah together. And a suicide bomber comes in and she basically screams death to infidels. Holby isn't paying attention because Holby is the admiral. He's like, he's a rear admiral. So he's not even supposed to be over there, but he is, because he's part of a SEAL team. And so he he wasn't really paying attention like when he was supposed to, or he didn't see her because she was like hidden in like a little cavern, and then she comes out and she screams death to infidels, and she whips off the jacket and she's a suicide bomber. And so basically rebar goes through Holby's chest, and so Elijah's freaking out because it's his best friend. They're trying to save him. Which is like the Mac is the medic. Oh, Aiden is the other medic, and Aiden's just like, no, he's saying to them, no, he's not going to make it. But Elijah's like, I'm not accepting this. So anyway, before he dies, Holby tells him to take care of his wife, Jimena. And he's like, I don't care what you do. Make sure you take care of her. Make sure she doesn't spend the rest of her life pining after me, and love her, basically. And so he's like, I'm not going to do that because you're going to be here to do that yourself. But anyway, the whole point is Holby winds up dying. Elijah gets a new commission. He's sent off continent for 2 years because this way the character has time to grieve her husband. You can't just think to like stick these characters into a relationship or have this guy saying this when that person just died. That's just dirty and janky. And I just kind of feel like your readers, because remember, I'm a reader too, your readers aren't going to be very comfortable with that. And so I made it 2 years because Elijah is sent off continent to do some things that keep our country safe. And so he comes back, and then when he comes back 2 years later, his whole point is to do what Holby asked him to do. And so you have some grace period between when that character died and him getting into another relationship. And so I just kind of felt that was like really weird. And then the book just abruptly ended. Literally just abruptly ended. It talked about the main character's dead lover, or the guy who died, Gavin, his parents calling her every day to inquire about the baby. And you flip the page, and that, like, I was listening to it on the Kindle, and it stopped, and I was like, because it was talking about her and the parents calling and blah 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 blah. And so it stopped, and I was doing something else at the time, and I was like, darn it, this stupid Kindle stopped again. And then I went over, and that was it. That was it. There was no closure. That's to me, that's not even a cliffhanger, because the readers weren't aware of that. And so with all that I felt like is going on with this book, I'm not going to star this book. I'm not going to give the author an actual star review, because I feel like she needs I feel like there's some work that's needed to this book. Now, I haven't read any of the next books. I'm not sure if I want to, because I kind of feel like that ending was very abrupt. And so basically I do want to kind of know what went on. If she's actually going to hook up with the guy, Leon, who she's been friends with, because it says an interracial romance, but both of the main characters up until that point were both African American. And so Leon is the best friend, like the sort of hanger on. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to go. But I'm not going to start this book because I just kind of feel like if I start it right now, it wouldn't be great. And it's like, and that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to berate authors or, talk trash about their books or star their books. Like that, won't benefit them. So I'm not going to actually star this book. I'm just going to leave it at, I feel like the author could use some work with this actual book because it could be a great book. I feel like if she's going to put those two characters together, then she needs to at least make the guy stay in Japan for like 6 months, maybe a year, and then that way she's able to grieve and raise her child because she's pregnant at the time as well. There are a lot of, because like there are a lot of cultures, like my culture, I'm native too, so back in the day, that was part of, if a brave died and he lost his life, then his brother would marry her, and take care of her. But it was more or less to take care. It wasn't out of love, it was out of duty to take care of her and to help her raise her children and his brother's children. It wasn't necessarily love. But if you're going to make it, I just kind of feel like in today's society, if you're going to make a love interest in those two characters, I don't know, maybe that's my prissy ways. I don't know. But I just kind of feel like you need a break, because to me, getting hooking up with somebody after your loved one just died, that's just janky to me. So unless you didn't love them in the first place. And so that's pretty much it to this review today. I'm sorry, guys. That book just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So anyway, now tomorrow, tomorrow is Friday, and tomorrow we read our regular, well, not, I won't say regular, but our fiction authors. And tomorrow's book is called The Crucifix Dagger, Shadows and Ash, Book 1. And it's by author Joel Harris. Oh, hopefully you guys can see that. Okay. And so, ooh, I didn't turn on the light, so it's kind of dark in here, guys. Sorry. But that's pretty much it. Our tomorrow is Friday, and so we will be reading author Joel Harris. And that's pretty much it. I shall see you guys tomorrow with a new review. Thanks, bunches. Don't forget, if you are not a member, then please subscribe down there. Click that little button and then click that little bell, so every time we upload a video, you will get it. Also, thanks, bunches. We will be announcing the gift card winner on the 3rd of April. So remember, all you have to do is send a shout out, say hello, give some tidbits, tell us what you're doing during this coronavirus quarantine. Let us know down there in the comments. And that's pretty much it. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Peace and love.